Welcome back, friends, to the shop. In today's video, we're going to be comparing the cheapest bench grinder on Amazon to the most expensive. Well, here they are side by side. We have the excellent Wranglerstar 1/3 horsepower, 100% duty cycle, industrial strength. This is the creme de la creme. This is the best of the best. Now, I didn't pay full retail for this when I bought it back in the day. I bought two of them on eBay for a fraction of the cost. But if you were to go buy this right now, then the prices vary wildly, but I would say on an average, a heritage grinder like this is going to run you, USA made, of course, between $500 and $600. Yeah, that's a lot of money. So that doesn't really fit into our budget workbench series right here. So I'm looking for something that the common guy, an average guy that's just not going to be a full industrial type of guy, that he can get by with. What do you need this tool for, and why am I selecting this? Well, as I said, as we build our workbench, I'm going to be featuring the things that I would buy in order. Number one was a workbench. Number two was a good vise, and number three is a bench grinder with a combination of a stone and a wire brush. If you don't have one of these and you are wondering why you would need something like this, you obviously haven't spent much time in the shop because they just are invaluable. I'll tell you this, my granddad, of course, was a very frugal guy. He had three things on his workbench. I'll let you guess what the third thing was. Put in the comments what you think the third was. He had a vise, a 5.5-inch vise, and he had a bench grinder, and that was number two, and then the third I'll let you guess. But that's going to be the same thing that I'm going to be featuring as well. So a bench grinder is handy for so many things: sharpening drill bits, sharpening tools, taking the burrs off of things. The wire brush just doubles its capacity. It gives you the ability to strip paint, to polish things, to clean things up, to knock the rust off of things before you weld. It just goes on and on and on. So it's worth it to me to have it. So why didn't I spec out this $550 monster? Well, maybe that is a good fit for you. And be careful. The guys in the comments are always saying, when I show something or I make a point, and the reason why I like this particular thing, some guys will disagree. I heard people say, well, that's insane to spend $500, $600, $700 on a vise. Maybe, but I'd say the same thing to you. It's insane to spend $500, $600 on a flat panel TV and sit in front of that all night. So it's all about priorities, right? So be careful. Unless you walk in a guy's shoes, you really don't know what fits best for him. But by and large, you guys in the comments have said you wanted to see stuff that was good quality, and I've done the research for you. Maybe not the best, but affordable. This little grinder right here, the little Wen grinder, has really great reviews on Amazon, and it was only $50. Now, it doesn't come with a wire wheel, so I added a wire wheel onto it. So everything combined with shipping, you came out to about $60. And it's got a light. Before we do our comparison, we got to make things apples to apples here, so we'll put the wire wheel on there. And, I know this is not, it's hard to compare this to the Wranglerstar, but, the price is just so much different. And I think for the common guy, what are you going to use it for? You're going to be sharpening some bits. You're going to be, maybe cleaning up the edge of a screwdriver. Maybe knocking some burrs off a bolt or something like that. So it's just not something a guy can justify spending that much time on unless you're using it all the time. So hopefully I bought the right wire wheel. This is a 6-inch. Now this comes with a coarse and a fine, so you might determine which one you want to keep. Don't remember that. I'm just going to keep the coarse on because if I was to be honest with you guys, I don't want to change two sides. Plus, I want a fine wheel for my Wranglerstar, so maybe that will fit on there. So let's knock this off here and swap it out. This looks like a perfect job for you old Mora knife chisel. About the handiest thing you can have in your shop. I'll put a link to these guys. If you don't have one of these things, it's about the best 10, 12 bucks you'll ever spend. It's a knife chisel. I keep it in my tool belt whenever I'm working. It is really a nice little tool. I'll do a video in the future too, show you guys how to dress these stones when they get a little bit worn. It's simple to do. Pretty nice heavy stone though. I've seen ones that were a whole lot worse than that. This little wire brush was, I think it was $8.99 on Amazon, 6-inch with a 1/2-inch mandrel in the center. I haven't used this particular one. But be sure when you're using these guys, always, always wear safety glasses because these wires will fly off. Every time I use one, well, not every time, but when I put a new one on, I'll come in the house and these little wires will be stuck in my shirt. So you don't want that to be stuck in your eye. I don't believe these are, okay, so that's the wrong size. I think, is that put in there to be a spacer? I think it is, yep. So don't throw that away as I almost did there. You don't want that wobbling around there, it'll vibrate really bad. But as I was saying, I don't think these are directional. Now be sure, if you have putting this on your grinders and you're putting new wheels on, these little rests are made to adjust in and out as the stone or the wheel wears and gets smaller. So you can move those in there. Oh man, this is just going so terribly wrong. This isn't thick enough, the mandrel on here. I'm running out of threads. So what I need to do is I need to space that out. Let me see if I can find a suitable washers or spacers. Sorry guys, I never thought to check that. I'm not recommending this wheel. I'm not going to put a link to this. I'll try to find one that's suitable for this. This was actually the one that was recommended by Wen. I've got a little spacer here in my parts bits. If you don't have this, which you're not going to have it, you could just use some washers if you run into that, but I'll try to find the correct one and that doesn't have that plastic mandrel deal in there. I think this should, ooh, that's close. Is that gonna hold or is that gonna slip? It's funny that it's broken loose from the other side here. I'm thinking that that's not a good sign. I'm starting to think that this little grinder might be a terrible choice if merely changing the wheel from a grinding wheel to a wire brush breaks the shaft. Look how this is spinning independently. I don't know, I mean, how could that possibly work? These should be connected. It's like, I mean, all I did was just tighten up that bolt a little bit and very carefully. That shouldn't have done anything. Let's plug it in and see what's going on, but I think it's broken. So what happens if we turn it on? Okay, it works. Now they're connected. That doesn't inspire confidence. I don't know, guys, about that. That's weird. It wasn't that this is spinning on the shaft. The shafts were turning independently. So I don't know. There's some sort of witchcraft in there that I obviously don't understand. And of course, we always Loctite everything so we don't vibrate loose. Somebody said in the comments this morning that I should start hiding a Loctite bottle somewhere in every video like an Easter egg. I thought that was a good idea, that would be kind of a funny thing to do and see who could be not only, so we're gonna have like the world's most annoying guy now that says first in every video, and then his redheaded stepchild is gonna be the one that, well actually if you find the Loctite bottle, I think that would be kind of cool. It'd be a fun thing to do. Before we put them to the test, let's take a look at the build really quickly here. Of course, we have here on the ball door basically the same thing, but just the mass on this thing is just so much bigger. Everything is cast, forged casted, heavy. We've got a really heavy all metal base right there versus one that's made out of punch steel with a little plastic knob that secures it here that is under heavy work, it's going to move on you. For this one secured with a bolt. I mean, you can obviously see it right there. This is a spark shield, so as it turns around, this will prevent sparks from throwing back on you. We have a little tiny tin one here versus a nice heavy one right there. It does feel metal. The base is not picking up magnetic. I don't know if what is that? Is that a plastic or? No, I don't know. I think maybe, I don't know. What type of aluminum? It's not conducting, it's non-ferrous, some sort. Anyway, we got a small switch right there versus the little more heavy-duty switch. I mean, it is what it is, right? I mean, we're talking $50 versus $550. We got a punched metal shroud here versus the big forged ones. And then of course we got the ability to collect, you know, any toxic vapors that come off of it or dust from the grinding wheel with a vacuum system. That's not an option here, but not that we would ever use that here. But you do have a light. I did put a bulb in it and it turned on and worked for a minute and then it went out. I think the bulb broke. But yeah, you can see, I mean, it's obvious they're not the same. Both of them are going to mount down to the bench with a single bolt. But let's start them up and see how they sound and fire up, how they spool up. First the ball door. About 1 second to get it up to speed. And the Wen. So 5 seconds. Let's compare how the two perform here. So for the test, I'm just going to clamp this here in my vise because I don't have it bolted down to the bench obviously yet. What I've got here is a piece of 5/16 threaded rod. You can see that's very rusty. So we're going to do two things. We're going to use the wire brush and clean this up here. We're going to see how much force can I exert on this before the motor stalls and just what the experience is like, right? And then secondly, after that, we'll do it on both grinders. We'll come over here to the wheel and put a point on this and then talk about how it went and what happened. So no big surprise there, the ball door, even though it's a 3rd horsepower, which doesn't sound like a lot, a very excellent vise. You can press as hard as you want to. You can't really stall it without a ton of effort. Any further, you'd probably damage the thread. So very nice, very well balanced, plenty of power for little things like that. Of course, very excellent. Let's see how the Wen does. Of course, the little table here, the platform, is not near as robust as the ball door, but neither is the price. A little bit longer to spool up. Definitely not the power, but not insufficient. You just can't put as much force into it. Not a problem though. It's just going to take a few seconds longer. Definitely serviceable. Now for the grinding test, the ball door is at a bit of a disadvantage because this grinding wheel is about ready to be changed, but I think we'll still get the point across. So what we'll do is over about 3/4 of an inch or so, we'll put a fine point on this and I'll press aggressively as hard as I can without stalling the motor. And the same thing on the Wen here. All right, guys, so what did we learn here? Well, first off, the obvious question is am I going to keep it and put it on the workbench? And I am. I am going to keep it. That grinding, actually, and I would probably give credit mostly to, well, not mostly, I mean, I would give credit to it working so well because of that brand new wheel. If we would have a brand new wheel on the ball door, I think that would have helped a lot. That is, it was very worn, but it was more than adequate. As you probably saw, I pushed with a lot of weight in there. I could stall it, but it would take some effort. It was more than adequate to grind something small like that, to knock the burrs off of something. Totally fine. And you get a light, which is kind of a nice feature, but we have to keep in mind that it's a $50 grinder. We can't really compare it to a full-on commercial tool. This is the second Wen tool that I've bought, actually the third. I bought 2 of their air filters, which I've used for several years now in the shop, and they've been very, very good. When obviously Chinese made, you know, they're not super high-end tools, but they have really great ratings from a lot of guys. I think this had, the one that I purchased had like 450 ratings at 4.5, 4 stars. So that's, I mean, that's pretty hard to beat. And it's not something you can't get into. You know, it's not going to just kill you, and you can justify spending the $50. So I would say we're going to go ahead and go with it. I'll try to spec a better wire brush. As I said, that one was no good. But if it were me, and if you could put another $50 towards this, the little yellow DeWalt grinder, the 6-inch grinder, is better built. I've used those before, and they're pretty nice little grinders, and they've got a lot more significant. I think they even have like a forged or a cast base. That's the worst part about this, is this flimsy little rest right here. I'm not a super fan of it. Did it work? Yeah. Didn't have any problems with it, but it's not great. Because here, the reality of it is yeah, we may say, well, I'm just going to get a small tool because I'm never going to do anything really big. You just never know. I mean, I've put stuff on that it was never designed for, because life happens, you know, and tools just need to be versatile. So keep that in mind. So I'll put a link to this. I am going to put it on the bench. I've got no issues with it whatsoever. It seems to work so far. But I would probably, if you had the means, step up another $50, $60 and get that DeWalt, which I'll put a link to that one as well. Or if you have the time and you're not in a hurry, go on eBay and buy a ball door if you really want a heritage grinder. Just keep in mind you're going to have the extra expense, most likely replacing wire brush in the wheel and stuff. But yeah, so far so good. We'll continue on. Now put in the comments what you think, in your opinion, what do you think of the 3 things that should be on a guy's bench? Vise number 1, bench grinder number 2. What should number 3 be? I think you probably know, right? Let me know in the comments and see if you are in alignment with my way of thinking. So that's it. Thanks for everything. Keep us in your prayers, guys, and may God bless you guys and all of your families. And we'll see you on the next video.